On Saturday, June 13, 1998, 59-year-old David O'Hearn hadn't opened his New South Wales corner store at 7 a.m. as he did every day. Alarmed by his absence, his sister went to his home and found her brother's body mutilated. O'Hearn was smashed in the head with a wine decanter, and after he was dead, he had been dismembered, decapitated, and disemboweled. His trousers had been pulled down and his penis was mutilated. Police found his intestines on a silver tray near the body. His dismembered hand had been used to draw a pentagram and the word Satan on the wall in his blood. His friends and family had no idea who would have murdered such a beloved man. 2 weeks after O'Hearn's murder, the body of Wollongong's ex-mayor Frank Arkell was found murdered in his home. Arkell had been struck on the head with a heavy ashtray and then multiple times with a lamp. The lamp's cord was tied around his neck. Like Mr. O'Hearn, Arkell had been mutilated after his death. 3 necktie pins had been inserted into his face. 2 of the pins had been sewn into his eyelids, with a third wedged deep into his cheek. The police suspected both crimes were committed by the same person. Looking into the victims' backgrounds, police found that Frank Arkell, aside from being a fairly high-profile politician, had 6 months prior to his murder been acquitted of sexual offenses involving boys and young men. Allegedly, he drugged and sexually assaulted his victims. After his acquittal, he was charged with 29 other sex offenses involving young teenagers and boys. His murder happened in the midst of other community members being arrested for sexual offenses towards children, including members of the clergy. Investigators set about interviewing all of Arkell's accusers, as any one of them would have had a motive, but one by one they were all cleared. David O'Hearn, on the other hand, lived a quiet and closeted life. The media's attempt to tie O'Hearn to Arkell's alleged predatory behavior added devastation to devastation for the O'Hearn family. A panicked law enforcement appealed to the public for information, and it paid off. A witness called Crime Stoppers and reported seeing a red car leaving Frank Arkell's house on the night of his murder. The witness couldn't say for sure if the car came from Arkell's driveway or a neighbor's. Under hypnosis, the witness said that the red Nissan Skyline did drive out of Frank Arkell's driveway, driven by one person. There wasn't a passenger in the car. The witness provided a clear description of the driver, and a sketch artist was able to draw a composite sketch. The witness said the sketch was a 75% likeness of the person he saw that night. On August 4th, 1998, about a week after Frank Arkell's murder, the police found the red Nissan Skyline in bushland. The car was stripped and smashed. No DNA was found inside or outside of the vehicle. After finding the car, police asked the media to distribute images of a black Nike tracksuit pants and Colorado hiking boots found in Arkell's house. Soon after the images were shared, a woman called the police and identified the clothing. She said her ex-boyfriend used to wear a similar combo of Nike pants and Colorado boots all the time. When he suddenly stopped wearing them, she asked about them, and he became agitated. She also claimed that her ex-boyfriend took a keen interest in the murders of David O'Hearn and Frank Arkell, following news reports of the murder religiously. On October 1st, 1998, 19-year-old Mark Valera walked into a Wollongong police station and confessed to the murders. Though Valera moved around at this time, one of the places he used to stay was within walking distance of Mr. O'Hearn's home. Valera claimed that O'Hearn had propositioned him, making sexual advances towards him. He told police the murder of O'Hearn wasn't planned, but the killing of Arkell was. When asked why he killed Arkell, Valera said that he knew Arkell was a pedophile, saying he was a very, very horrible man. At his trial in 2000, Valera claimed that his father had sexually and physically assaulted him during his childhood, a claim that would be bolstered by his sister. Valera's name given at birth was Mark Van Krevel, but he hated and feared his father so much that as soon as he escaped his father's home, he changed his last name. When his father took the stand in his son's defense, he finally admitted what he had long denied, that he had in fact physically abused both of his children, while he still adamantly denied the sexual abuse. Court observers said that for most of the time his father was on the stand, Valera was crying uncontrollably, eventually winding up curled in a ball under the defense table. Valera's defense claimed that David O'Hearn had sexually propositioned him, and that this caused a flashback to his father's abuse. As for Arkell's murder, Valera's defense said he was angered by the reports of Arkell's pedophilia, and killing Arkell, Valera was trying to save more children from suffering. In December 2000, Mark Valera was found guilty of the murders and later sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. His appeals have been rejected. Valera's sister blamed their father for the crimes her brother had committed. Not quite 2 weeks after Valera was convicted, Belinda Van Krevel enlisted her boyfriend, her brother's best friend, to kill their father. Van Krevel Sr. was stabbed to death in their home as his daughter and grandchild huddled together in a bedroom down the hall. Belinda Van Krevel was eventually convicted and sentenced to 6 years imprisonment with a non-parole period of 3.5 years. Mark Valera's murders puts nature versus nurture into sharp relief. While Valera's defense claimed PTSD from childhood abuse as the catalyst for his crimes, the extreme brutality of the murders suggests much deeper and more complex psychological issues. I can't help but look at this case through the cultural climate of Australia at the time. Gay bashing was widespread, often with police involvement, as evidenced by the bashing and murders at Bondi Beach. The contempt for queer people and the willful conflation of homosexuality with pedophilia helped stoke hostile attitudes, leading to increased danger and murder. Many of these murders remain unsolved. There is no clear record that Frank Arkell was a gay man. What seems clearer is that he might have been a pedophile or a hebephile. Poor Mr. O'Hearn was a gay man who was made out to be a possible child predator when his only crime was being gay and being murdered at the same time as Arkell. David John O'Hearn lived alone in Albion Park. He owned and operated a corner shop. He was described as a quiet and shy person who didn't like to draw attention to himself. In his community, O'Hearn was well liked and respected. He was also a man of routines. He opened his store regularly at 7 o'clock in the morning, closing at 5. Then he would drive the 6 miles to his home. He was close to his 89-year-old mother and sister. His family said they suspected he was gay, but O'Hearn never came out. He lived a quiet life and kept his private life private. Mark Valera's abuse and mental instability went untreated. His vigilante rage meant that Frank Arkell would never be held to account for the raft of alleged abuses levied against him. As for David O'Hearn, he should be remembered for his kindness, the love of his friends and family, and for his humanity, of course. Thanks for joining me. Please subscribe to the channel.